Maui is an island with a beautiful landscape and a rich culture. But it turns out we aren't the only ones who love Maui. Over 2 million people visit our island each year. In fact, each month the equivalent of Maui's population, or over 150,000 people, arrive on Maui. So how does this impact us who live here? First of all, tourism brings in money and provides a third of all jobs on Maui. In 2010, visitors spent $3 billion. But all these visitors also means more people sharing our parks, beaches, and roads, more hotels and golf courses on our coastline, and even more food, fuel, and other supplies to ship from the mainland. Most visitors are here for a leisurely experience, but some people are worried that visitors aren't learning as much as they could be about Hawaii's environment and culture, and that they are being sold the false images of our island rather than the reality. So are resort areas like Wele and Ka'anapali really just bubbles we've created for visitors? And what are the impacts of this type of tourism on our culture and environment? We decided that the only way to find out was to head to these resort areas to observe these visitors in their natural habitat. But first, we would need a good disguise. Or on second thought, maybe just a fake mustache. So we set off to investigate. The first thing we noticed was that to get to Wailea, we had to go through a lot of dry-looking land. But when we got to Wailea, it was like an oasis of green. Why? Well, it turns out the water needed to make Wailea green comes from the I'o aquifer and streams many miles away. And with this water, we are able to create this man-made oasis of golf courses, swimming pools, and even waterfalls. So after long days of tireless research, what did we find? Well, maybe if you never left these resort areas, you'd play lots of golf, get sunburned, and buy mini tiki and hula dancers. But you may never learn anything about Maui's environment and culture. But we did find some examples of locally owned businesses who are trying to share with visitors what makes our home so special.
The Ka'anapali Beach Hotel offers to the visitor an experience that, for us, try to be as genuine Hawaiian as possible. We are known throughout the state of Hawaii as the most Hawaiian hotel. And that was based on about 100 criteria on things like, do we use the language? Do we do classes? Do we have signage? Do we have diacritical marking? Do our employees wear Hawaiian uniform? Do we sing every day? We do pride ourselves in making a commitment to teaching our visitors about the Hawaiian culture. We offer free Hawaiian cultural activities like lei making, hula classes. We do a class on language. We do a class on garden walk. And during the whale season, we talk about the whales, of course. When they leave, we have a departure lei ceremony. At the time, we give each of our guests a kukui nut lei, and we tell them the significance of the kukui. Visitors here to our hotel learn about the Hawaiian culture? I would say absolutely. When I hear that the tourists are responsible for overdevelopment, I would have to speak to that, because in my opinion, it's not the tourists that are responsible or visitors. Rather, it's our own community. It's our government. It's our planning commission. If you go to the beaches, who are the ones who litter the beaches for the most part? It's our local kama'aina. I'm sorry to say. They're the one who leave their opala behind. So I think education is needed all around for our local residents, for our visitors, and it's something that we continually have to work on to keep Maui the Maui we all love.
So we left KBH impressed with their efforts to share the Hawaiian culture with visitors and by the quality of their virgin lava flows. But we also left with another question. What if we could educate visitors about Maui's environment and culture, while benefiting both the visitors and the community? Well, there's a word for that. It's called ecotourism. So do we have ecotourism on Maui? So we scanned the internet and found examples of farm tours, hikes, zip lines, and even places to volunteer on vacation. And then we heard about an ecotourism project being started at the fish pond in Kihei. That seemed to be just what we were looking for.
Aloha mai kako and welcome to Ko Ie Loko Ia, also known as the Rushing Waters Fish Pond. Now whenever you see a fish pond, a coastal fish pond that's along the shoreline like this, we call it a Loko Ia Kua Pa, or a rock wall fish pond. The ali'i would have what we call a kia'i loko, or a guardian of the fish pond. And this guy, his kuleana, or his responsibility, was to ensure that nobody poached from the fish pond and that the walls was always repaired and always stood strong. So by getting out there and rebuilding the walls, I'm rebuilding and touching the same rocks that our ancestors touched. And they're giving me that ike, that knowledge. Being that we're a nonprofit, it does take kuleana, or responsibility, to continue the work of our kupuna, of our elders. And so we've created this Hawaiian outrigger canoe tour. And we take people out for about an hour and a half. It's about 15 to 20 minutes on the beach, and then we spend at least an hour out on the ocean. We talk about the history of Ko Ie Loko Ia. We talk about the mythology, and then we kind of pretty much explore the coastal line of fish ponds, because there are remnants of fish ponds all along the south shore. The funds that we raise is going to go towards the education and just the ability for us to be here. You know, it takes a lot of volunteer hours and it takes a lot of labor. We have an insurance that we have to pay, and we also have to pay a lease to the state just to do work of our kupuna. You know, you never know what's out there. Yeah, every day is a new experience, and that's the pretty cool thing about being on the outrigger canoe, because as you're sitting in the canoe and you're listening to the chants and you're listening to the stories and you're actually participating and you're feeling the sun on your skin and the wind on your back and the sounds of the ocean, you begin to think Hawaiian, yeah? And so for that hour, 20 minutes, hour and a half that you're on the canoe with us, you get to see the islands from the view of our kupuna, of the ancient people. And that's the experience itself, that's the connection, because through education comes an awareness, and hopefully with this awareness comes compassion and love and respect for the islands and for the culture, and for the people here.
We think these canoe tours are a great example of ecotourism because visitors can learn about our environment and culture while helping a nonprofit restore the fish pond. So it seems like tourism on Maui is here to stay, and so are the resorts, golf courses, and shopping malls that go with it. And in a lot of ways, this is a good thing since so many of our jobs depend on it. But what about the future? If more visitors arrive, should we just build more hotels and golf courses on our coastline? Or do we need a new plan? Then we found out there is a plan. It's called the Maui Island Plan. And it's being worked on right now by the planning department and community members. So we headed to Wailuku to find out what this plan could say about the future of tourism on Maui.
Speaking specifically about the Maui Island Plan, it's a comprehensive plan. It addresses economic development issues, land use issues, natural resource and cultural issues, infrastructure, the whole range of issues that really affect our communities.
In the Maui Island Plan, we have a whole entire chapter which is dedicated to protecting natural resources and the environment, and we focus on basically mitigating the impacts from development. The planners do a very comprehensive review of what impacts each project has.
Water is, of course, one of the fundamental things that the community looks at, but we also have to consider other forms of infrastructure. Where are the jobs, as well as community preferences in terms of the location of development. So through the planning process, the community will identify some areas on the dry side of the island for development, and to deal with that and the water impacts, the county looks at things like proper landscaping regulations. Do we need to create rainforests in dry areas? Maybe there are other approaches to landscaping that are more sustainable.
One of the goals this department has is to diversify tourism so that we aren't as reliant on just one form of tourism, and also we look at diversifying the economy so we're not relying too heavily on tourism, because it can have a really bad effect in a downturn.
One of the biggest changes we've seen in the last few decades is a greater public awareness, and I think awareness in the planning community and in the visitor industry of the importance of our natural resources and cultural resources to the health of the visitor industry. Ensuring that our natural resources and cultural resources are protected, since those are the attributes that bring people to our islands.